Good morning everyone. Welcome to my class. Today we are going to discuss an important topic for the discussion. That is, the title of the topic is Role of Nanoparticles in Drug Delivery. So it is presented by Dr. Zakir Hussain. So Associate Professor, Department of Pharmaceutics, KLR College of Pharmacy, Palavancha. Now let us start the discussion. So title of the topic for today's discussion is nanoparticles. Let us see the definition. A nanoparticle is a small particle that range between 1 to 100 nanometers in size. So from this definition we come to know that the size of the particle of the nanoparticle size, it is ranging from 1 to 100 nanometers. It is in nanometer in size, which is not visible with our naked eye. We need the microscope, that is a high resolution of microscope. It is undetectable by the human eye. So if it is undetectable by the human eye, then from where it is detectable? That is the question. It can be detectable by various equipments are there through which we can easily find the nanoparticles. They are the dynamic image analyzer, which is called as DIA, as well as laser diffraction, it is also called as LD, and dynamic light scattering, DLS, we call it as a DLS, and several other equipments are available so that we can easily observe the nanoparticles, which is not able to observe with our human eye. Why? Because it is having very less particle size, nanometer in range. In the previous slide, as we have discussed, it is 1 to 100 nanometer in size. The nanoparticles can exhibit significantly different physical and chemical properties to their large material counterpart. Means what here? These nanoparticles are available in several forms. Various forms are available. How they are differentiated? They are differentiated based on the properties such as physical form as well as the chemical form. Based on these two parameters, the nanoparticles are further classified. We are going to the next slide. We are moving to the next slide now. Still one point is remaining, that is the most nanoparticles are made up of only a few hundred atoms. Made up of few hundred atoms means the meaning for this one is it is made up of 100, nearly 100 picometer in size. Most of the nanoparticles are available in few hundred atoms, means they are 100 picometer in the size. Now let us see the next slide. Here we are going to discuss about the advantages of the nanoparticles. So there is a vast of advantages. So many advantages we can find there in nanoparticles. So apart from that, so if we go for highlight some important advantages, we can see that it is as we all know that these nanoparticles are site targeted, means we can target directly to the area which is affected. By using these nanoparticles, the main advantage we can see, it is used in the treatment of cancer. For cancer therapy, we are using the nanoparticles. Why? Only reason we can say that because of its small particle size, having very less particle size, it can easily penetrate, it can easily reach to the target site, and where we can release the drug, it can release the drug as well as it produce the therapeutic action within a specified period of time. When it is going to be targeted, now let us see the advantage. After parenteral administration, means after administrating the drug to achieve both passive and active drug targeting. So we have to understand here what is the passive targeting and what is the active targeting. If you take passive targeting, the nanoparticle accumulate in neoplastic tissue. These nanoparticles, after the parenteral administration, it will accumulate in the tissue area where the tissue has been damaged. So as a result, what happened? As a result of the enhanced permeability as well as retention of these nanoparticles, which is called as EPR, enhanced permeability and retention time is more for these nanoparticles. It was first described by Maeda and Matsumoto, a great scientist by name called as Maeda and Matsumoto. These two scientists has discovered about the nanoparticles, as well as they have given the mechanism of action, how it will work by passive targeting. It will go, if you go for next heading, that is active drug targeting. So in this active drug targeting, what we can observe, so there is an increase significantly quantity of drug delivered. In active targeting, the drug delivery is going to be observed much more when compared to passive targeting. So as well as the drug target is going to be directly targeted to the target cell compared to the free drug. Normally, if we give the drug without the nanoparticles, that drug cannot accumulate, cannot penetrate, cannot deposit at the targeted size when compared to by using the nanoparticle. If you see here the image, we can observe here. So there are two images we can observe. One is the active targeting on the right hand side and passive targeting on the left hand side. In passive targeting, we can observe there is a penetration of the drug, accumulation of the drug into the neoplastic area as a result of permeability. EPR we can observe here, this area. You can see a red color area, it is a circle mark. We can see here in this area, the drug has been penetrated with the help of EPR effect, enhanced permeability and retention effect phenomena. The first it was described as I told the scientist name. So what about the active targeting? This is about the passive. And what about the active targeting? In this active targeting, there is a high amount of drug is going to be delivered. High amount of drug is going to be delivered. Thereby, the quantity of drug is going to be more. It is available to the target site. That is the difference between the active targeting as well as the passive targeting. Next, we can continue in the slide. Particle size and surface characteristics of nanoparticles can be easily manipulated. How they are manipulated? By changing the particle size as well as the surface area of the particle. So we can say here, as the particle size decreases, what happens? The surface area automatically it will go on increases. Once the surface area increases, what happens? The drug is more soluble, more available for the targeted site. Because of its more solubility, more penetration and absorption power also increases. Thereby, we can achieve the good therapeutic action. Then going for the next slide number 4. Here another thing is there, another point missing here. That is to achieve high drug therapeutic efficacy and less side effects during the transportation. They control and sustain release of the drug and at the site after parenteral administration to achieve both passive and active drug targeting. So what we can say here, for having greater efficacy, greater therapeutic efficacy, and to avoid maximum side effects, we have to get the less side effects during the transportation of the drug and at the site after the parenteral administration. So this type of methodology has been used. That is, the nanoparticle is one of the best option so that we can go for treatment in the cancer type of diseases. Coming to the slide number, next slide, slide number 4, we can see the slide numbers on the right end. These types, we are going to discuss about the different types of nanoparticles. If you see types, there is some types we are going to discuss here. I am going to discuss here, that is silver nanoparticles. So in the silver nanoparticles, these are proved to be most effective because of their good antimicrobial efficacy. These type of nanoparticles are having very good effect of antimicrobial action is there against bacteria, viruses and other eukaryotic organisms. Eukaryotic organisms such as fungus and protozoa. So this silver nanoparticles is famous for having the antimicrobial efficacy, we can say. Among all the nanomaterials, they are most widely used as antimicrobial agent. Examples we can see here for sunscreen lotions, water treatment and to kill the bacteria in the presence in the water, in the preparation of sunscreen lotions, and it is used as an antimicrobial agent. And in the textile industries also it is used. By using the plants, so what is the source? The source is that Capsicum annum, Azadirachta indica and Carica papaya, these are some of the sources from where the silver nanoparticles is biosynthesized and they are used for various applications. So we have discussed here the type of the nanoparticles, that is the silver nanoparticle. Now we can see for the next slide. The next slide we can see here, it is a circular motion. The image has been given from where the nanoparticles are going to be synthesized. We can just have a look for the silver nanoparticles. The silver salts are used as a reducing agent, so thereby what happened, the process 1, instant nucleation leads to silver nuclei. Now we have to understand what is the nucleation. The nucleation is a process in which the crystals form from the solution, liquid or vapor, so that it forms an aggregate. So that a cluster cluster has to be formed, which is we are observing in the step number 1, that is in the nucleation step. Next we can move on to the second step, that is they have given on the slide, you can see there. Step number 2, which is called as a coalescence. So what happened in this coalescence? In this coalescence, whatever the nanoparticles are formed, which are very separated, which are very divided portion, which is not combined with each other, in the coalescence stage, the silver cluster is going to be formed. Formation of cluster is going to be observed in the step number 2, which is called as coalescence. Go on to the step number 3, the growth of silver nanoparticles. Because of more accumulation of the drug, what happened, these nanoparticles has form as a cluster aggregate. They are combined with each other to form a nanoparticles. Then after the last stage of this synthesis of the nanoparticles, we can see here capping of the silver nanoparticles. So in this capping, we can see this is the conclusion of the preparation of the nanoparticles. Capping of silver nanoparticle provides stability and minimize aggregation. So at this stage we can observe there is a less chances of having more chances of stability, having more stable nanoparticles are formed at this stage, and less aggregation, less chances of aggregation, means again the nanoparticles are not coming closer with each other, they remain as a separate entity. We can go for next stage, next step, that is the gold nanoparticle, another type of nanoparticle which is called as a gold nanoparticle. So in this gold nanoparticle, for identification of protein interaction, they are using the gold nanoparticles, that is immunochemical studies. These are used in the immunochemical studies. Now before going to the next stage, let us see what is immunochemical studies, where these are used. These immunochemical studies are specific to malignant cells. They are the protein based studies. They does not require frozen tissue. This is routinely applied to the fixed tissue. So where this is the places where the immunochemical studies are going to be done. And the same way, this gold nanoparticles are also used for the identification of protein interactions. As I have told in the example, that is immunochemical studies, gold nanoparticles are used. In DNA fingerprinting, they are used as lab tracer. So they are used as a DNA fingerprinting lab tracer. Lab tracer means for identification of the traces element, whatever present on the finger tip, we are using the DNA technology. In the gold nanoparticles we are using for fingerprinting to detect existence of DNA in a sample. Aminoglycoside antibiotics, example, that is streptomycin, gentamicin and neomycin are also detected by using these nanoparticles. Detection of cancer stem cells. The cancer stem cells also detected by using the gold nanoparticles. Diagnosis of cancer and identification of different classes of bacteria can be done by using nano gold rods. We can see here a flow chart. I have given here a flow chart. In this flow chart we can see that is a cancer targeted therapy as well as the traditional cancer therapy. Means what here? The traditional cancer therapy means the normal therapy where we can use for treatment of the cancer. By using the gold nanoparticles, what is the changes we are going to be observed? You can see here the image. In this image, the arrow mark indicating for both sides. One side we can observe the targeted cancer therapy, and on the other end we can see the traditional cancer therapy. First of all, if you take the targeted cancer therapy, the drug that kills the tumor stem cells, the next step, tumor loses ability to generate new cells and tumor degenerate. Finally what happened, the tumor is going to be degenerated. If you see in the image first slide, that is sorry, first method for the treatment of cancer therapy, that is targeted cancer therapy by using the gold nanoparticles. So this is the happen drug that kills the tumor stem cells, then again it will not going for further regeneration. Finally the tumor cells are going to be collapsed and totally destroyed and they are damaged. If you go for cancer traditional therapy, drug that kills the tumor cells, here also is available the same thing, but not the cancer stem cells. Tumor shrink but grow back. Tumor, what happened here? They will, first of all it will disappear, but later on what happened, it is again going to accumulate, it will coming back to the original position. The traditional therapies nowadays they are not at all using because of this drawback. The traditional therapies has reduced its importance, whereas the targeted therapies has been evolved. Once it is come into existence, once it came into existence, once its importance has been increased, most of the doctors they are preferring for this targeted drug delivery system rather than the traditional cancer therapy. Next slide. So here another one example I have given. So where these gold nanoparticles they are using, we can see some examples such as antigen bindings, nanocubes, in the form of nanocubes we can deliver the drug, gold nanoparticle matrix, in the form of matrix we can deliver, branched system photothermal therapy, means light therapy also, which is called as no drug therapy. So this is the example for no drug therapy, which is called as photothermal therapy. Then we can see here the targeting, nano cluster, in the form of cluster we can use, nanostars drug delivery, toxin or microbial agent removal. So these are the applications for the gold nanoparticles against respiratory diseases. Next, alloy nanoparticles. From the bulk sample, structural properties of alloy nanoparticles are different. Silver flakes are most commonly used due to their highest electrical conductivity among other metal filters. Their oxides also have relatively greater conductivity by both metal and over ordinary metallic nanoparticles. Bimetallic alloy nanoparticles properties are influenced, which shows more advantages when compared to other nanoparticles. Sorry, we can see here the image, that is alloy nanoparticles example here again, that is how the alloy nanoparticles are going to be working. So we can see here the growth size of the nanoparticles less than 1 nanometer in size. First, if you see metal ions are going to be formed, then the carriers are going to be combined or linked. Under the reduction, what happened, we are observing atomic metal. So atomic metal, after adding the atomic metals, after formation of the metal ions, alloying and grain growth is going to be observed. Now have a focus on the grain growth. Increase in size of grain, that is this grain is nothing but called as crystallities. In a material at increased temperature, as high temperature, this occurs when recovers and recrystallization are complete. This is the stage where the recovery and the recrystallization has been completed, and further reduction in the internal energy can only be achieved by reducing the total area of grain. So after this what happened, we can see here the raw material and carrier. Reducing agents we are used after heating. Heating means, as I told, as the temperature increases, what happened, at high temperature and pressure, these alloy nanoparticles are going to be formed, and after cooling and finally they are collected into the tank. Then fourth, the magnetic nanoparticles are known to be biocompatible, that is magnemite and magnetite. For a magnetic resonance imaging, MRI, we can say MRI scanning, guided drug delivery, targeted cancer treatment, magnetic hyperthermia, gene therapy, stem cell sorting and manipulation, and for DNA analysis, they have been actively considered. These magnetic nanoparticles are mainly focused for the MRI type of scannings. They are having its importance. Have a look here, the image, that is metallic core, metal, cobalt, nickel, manganese and iron, their alloys are oxidized. The gold shield is formed and silent shell, the polymeric shell, dendritic shell. So these are the various types of magnetic nanoparticles by which we can give the therapeutic action. Then having these applications of these nanoparticles, internalization within mammalian cells can be achieved by surface functionalized carbon nanotubes. Again, it is used in the vaccine delivery, conjugation with peptides may be used as vaccine delivery structures. The gene cycling, we can observe here the next stage, that is gene cycling. It is highly selective therapy is required for cancer therapy where tumor cells will be selectively modulated in this case with small interfering DNA gene silencing has been done. By targeting functionalized single-walled carbon nanotubes with siRNA, that is small interfering RNA, these can be achieved in the targeted cells to silence the targeted gene expression. Means to avoid the gene replication, this method is followed. So here is the end of the slides. Hope you have acquired the knowledge. As in the starting of my YouTube channel, I have given the description. This content is not for the professionals. This content is prepared only for the pharma budding students and science related students, so that they can gain some knowledge from these slides, and they have to upgrade the knowledge. They should not depend on this information. Based on this information, they can take it as an example and they can take it as a motivation. Then they have to go for searching again in various websites, various textbooks available, so that they can enlarge their knowledge and upgrade and to be up to date. So with that intention we have prepared here. So if you like this topic or the video, kindly please subscribe to my channel. The channel name I have given, Dr. Zakir Medellin. So please subscribe so that you can get such informative videos whenever we will upload in my YouTube channel. Directly you will get the alert, so that you can have the direct access from your YouTube. Thank you one and all.